Named after his voice actor and Ed's friend Tord Larson, Tord was a character in Eddsworld from 2004 to 2008. By all accounts, Tord Larson liked Eddsworld. He didn't seem to have any major problems with his community, and outside of a couple of playful spats, he was close with Ed, Matt, and Tom. Ed claims that Tord left Eddsworld to pursue his own ambitions separately from that friendship group. He was pretty clear in saying that Tord did not leave angrily, and there was no drama. He did not mention the fandom at all, but he was careful to not specify the exact nature of Tord's ambitions, just that they were separate from Eddsworld. This was all later confirmed in Tord's own words. He also said that he wanted distance from Ed's caricature of him, a struggle faced by many an actor, especially ones known for playing exaggerated versions of themselves. As for that first point, it's not uncommon for artists to seek out that kind of anonymity and artistic separation. You often find musicians using multiple names for separate projects, and many have adopted alter egos and secret identities as part of their performance. Actor Nicholas Coppola goes by a stage name to separate himself from his very famous and very successful family of actors and filmmakers. Now I'm willing to bet that Nicolas Cage is more well known to the general public than Francis Ford or Sofia Coppola ever were. Regardless of why he left, his departure was unexpected and initially poorly explained, causing a sea of rumours and speculations that continue to this very day. The comments asking about Tord were so ubiquitous that it very quickly became a running joke that Ed was more than happy to play with, despite numerous clarifying statements from basically everybody involved. Bringing back Tord was never going to happen, so his appearance in this video was just about the best decision that writers Thomas Ridgewell and Eddie Bowley could have made if they wanted to get the fans talking. Was it respectful? I wouldn't know. I do know that Tord had been brought back by Ed in the past, and unlike the people who worked on the end, I've never met the guy. Who's to say what he would have wanted? Definitely not me or you. Throughout the end, Tord takes on a more antagonistic role than he had in the past, bullying Tom throughout the first part and revealing himself to be a supervillain in the second. This antagonism took some fans by surprise, as Tord was largely a good guy when he was a regular. I myself thought that this was some kind of doppelganger, masquerading as Tord, and similar ideas persist as wildly popular fan theories. It's now common knowledge that this character change was foreshadowed in the form of a series-spanning soft arc, one that rewarded vigilant viewers when their theories came to fruition. The hints continued all the way up to the end part 1 and promotional material for both parts, which featured clues that Tord would come back as a bad guy. Look at the blueprint in the background of the opening credits of the end part 1, and you'll even catch an early glimpse of Tord's giant robot. Taking a break from Tord for a bit, how are the other characters in this? Matt is on top form with his stupidity. He doesn't seem to have any idea what's going on at any given moment. He makes a great vehicle for jokes and exposition, though if you walked away from this thinking he'd been flanderized, then I wouldn't necessarily blame you. I just don't think I'd agree. There's a whole video to be made about Matt's stupidity that I've been toying with for a while, but now I'm just gonna say that the evolution to this point was pretty natural. For being the title character, Ed is fairly invisible in this. He's clued into Tord's return from the start, and he plays quite a passive role in the central conflict. His agency more or less boils down to his relationship to the other characters, notably Tord and Tom. Tom is the primary protagonist and POV character for these two episodes, and nowadays, I think that was the right decision. It's obviously not his first time in the driver's seat, and his rivalry with Tord is entertaining, featuring some funny interactions and character moments that wouldn't work so well with Ed, I don't think. Not every protagonist has to be the most important person in the story. Sherlock Holmes is the most important figure in his world, but his actions are framed through the eyes of John Watson. We can get invested in Ed even though he's not on screen for most of the episode, because the end is not a story about Ed, it's a story about Ed's world. The conflict reaches a boiling point at the end of part 1, with a falling out spurred on by Tord's bullying and the acceptance of this bullying by Matt and specifically Ed. Watch this scene again and notice how Ed's comment is the one that pushes Tom over the edge.
Yeah, classic stupid Tom.
Part 1 concludes with a shot of the art style slowly shifting to better imitate Ed's regular art style, a look that will continue into Part 2. While Part 1 was animated almost entirely by Paul Devorder, Part 2 features the combined efforts of several animators, old and new, bringing their own spin to Ed Gould's classic art style. Now seems like as good a time as any to acknowledge that the end is a love letter to Ed Gould's show, written largely in references to the past. The whole of Part 1 is a whistle-stop tour of some of the most memorable scenes in Eddsworld history. The opening credits hit you with literal snapshots of some of the earliest episodes that feature Tord, informing new viewers about their shared history and serving as fun callbacks for longtime fans. The music playing in the background is also a remix of a song that was composed by Ed Gould. The episode itself features a faithful recreation of Tord's final scene, and then we visit some familiar set pieces, all taken from post-Tord, pre-legacy videos that Ed worked on. The loft also features a stunning array of props from almost every Eddsworld episode since Tord left, and even a few from before he left. I was going to start listing them, but honestly, I don't think there's a single item on this screen that isn't from a previous video. I absolutely love this shot to bits. It's no wonder that Tom commissioned a custom version of this image that last we saw was framed on the wall in his living room. The cast of characters is also a who's who for the obsessive Ed head. There's the gang reunited, of course, but you've also got the neighbors, the internet CEO, the space face aliens, Dewey, evil director and Larry, Kim and Katia, Grand Mardo, sinister homeless man, Paul, the Eldsworld girls, and even Bendee Stick. In the final shot of the episode, which is also packed to the brim with references, the guys are watching a movie. Listen carefully and you can just about make out the names Bendee and Dr. DeCappy, characters in Ed's first successful animated webtoon. They even brought back Alex Farmer to reprise his role as Dr. DeCappy specifically for this cameo. I should also mention Alex Labie, the original voice actor for Tom and Tord, who makes his own cameo as the intercom announcer when the guys are on their shopping trip. The end revels in the joy of nostalgia, and I don't think I'll ever find every reference there is. Eddsworld is primarily a comedy, so how are the jokes in this? I'm probably not the best judge of this humor because I've heard these jokes so many times while making and editing videos, but even now I find myself cracking a smile at the weird, zany, or downright stupid. Bad puns, fourth wall breaks, silly faces, and subverted expectations, the end has it all. If a joke doesn't land for you, then there's probably another one right around the corner that might work a little better. I personally have never been a fan of mean-spirited comedy, and slapstick treads a fine line with me before my sympathies start lying with the wrong character. So I've never found Tom getting dunked on in part 1 and 2 to be particularly funny. That's just my opinion. I've always preferred Wile E. Coyote to Tom and Jerry, but if you want to see Tom getting chased by dogs, then here you go. I'm not going to dwell on the plot, but I will say that it's great to see a story about the reunification of old friends, even one that focuses on the conflicts that can arise. In my life, I've had so many friends come and go. I've reconnected with some for a time before we drift apart again. It's just something that happens with space and time. But I still think about my old friends. I still love them, and I still have dreams about people that I haven't seen in the better part of a decade, whatever that might mean. I guess I have a soft spot for this kind of story, and I get the sense that a lot of you might have felt the same way, because if you wanted a story about old friends reconnecting, then this one has a sad ending that I know a lot of people didn't love. As the episode draws to a conclusion, we're witness to a climax of epic proportions. Ed's house, the start and end point of so many adventures, is left in smithereens as part of an attack that seemingly kills off a major character.
No! This is the end.
Given that this was always going to be Tom's last performance, this scene was actually quite believable, and it made the retaliation by Ed and Matt all the more satisfying. I also like that it's a callback to the pressing buttons scene. That's a nice payoff. We're treated to this instantly iconic line, and what follows is, I believe, a masterpiece of visual storytelling. I don't need to tell you how good this scene on the cliff is. All of the feelings of failure and regret and frustration come across clear as day, and I wouldn't change a frame. From its inception, the end was built to be an Eddsworld series finale, possibly the last ever story to come out of the channel, and certainly the end of an era. With a final post-credits scene confirming that John is dead, the fandom was left in the dark for 4 years believing that the end really was the end. As time went on though, it became clear that there was some juice left in the tank. The fandom kept Eddsworld spinning, the subscriber count doubled without a new video in sight, and Ed's family wanted his show to continue. In 2020, they worked with Ed's old friends to reboot the web show with new talent, new stories, and a new vision for what Eddsworld could be. We still have overarching storylines, but we're yet to see them connect to the legacy in any way, which leaves the end in a bit of an awkward spot. It's the rare, though increasingly common, finale that wasn't. Think The Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings from Futurama, or Beyond the World Green Yonder from Futurama, or Meanwhile from Futurama. This scene of Tord on the cliff, for instance, has taken on a bunch of different meanings as time's gone by. While yes, this is a great ending to Tord's character arc as it relates to the boys, it was also written to be a kind of origin story for another show that Tom was working on at the time, Super Average. The idea was to set Super Average in the same canon as Eddsworld. It wouldn't exactly be a spin-off, more of an extended universe. The main villain of that cartoon was going to be a character named Red Leader, a name that might sound familiar to a lot of you. You might also recognize one or more of his character design quirks. The exact future of Super Average remains unclear. Tom hasn't talked about the show publicly in years, but we do know that he's made the decision to cut the Red Leader character as we know him, presumably severing the Super Average canon from Eddsworld entirely.
It is disrespectful to the original voice actor, and also I think it's best if I cut ties with the show permanently.
So what was once a bittersweet ending and a new beginning is now an idea that will never reach any kind of resolution. Except maybe it will. Even though Tord's character came back for the end to be given a proper send-off, his popularity since 2016 has only increased. Some wanted to see more of his villainy, others were disappointed that he was only brought back to be a villain and not reunite with his old friendship group. And so, in 2024, a brief 10-second clip of Tord emerging from the shadows with his face bloodied was teased on the Eddsworld Extra YouTube channel. The moment came and went with little explanation, and for the longest time that was the last we saw of the red guy in motion. That was until the in-production preview at the end of 2025, where we were shown multiple clips of Tord in various scenarios. In one clip he's wearing a suit, in another he's buckling his seatbelt, in another there's this explosion in the background, and we also get this shot of a silhouetted character holding a ray gun thing. This could be anybody, but come on, just look at that hairdo. Also, as I was wrapping up the edit on this video, these gorgeous Eddsworld trading cards were announced, and just have a look at this one. Could that be the Red Leader making a comeback? One could speculate about what exactly is going on in these clips, but as I make this video, we still have more questions than we do answers. What will this return mean for the future of Tord's character? Will this upcoming episode change how we view this scene through new context or a new conclusion? Who knows? But until then, this scene will remain as ambiguous as it will ever be, and I'm happy to savor that. As somebody who was there when the end came out and was a part of the fandom for the 4-year hiatus, I thought that this was a fitting end to the franchise, but for many, I'm sure that this was only the beginning. Right now, The End Part 1 and 2 stand as the second and third most viewed videos on the channel. Combined, they have more views than even Funded. I would not be surprised if this video was an introduction to many would-be Edheads, especially since the ideas and imagery in these videos have become iconic in their own right. I'm grateful that this wasn't literally the final Eddsworld episode, and I'm excited to see what comes next. But if, for whatever reason, the channel were to shut down tomorrow with no more episodes until the end of time, this would still be a fitting conclusion. It was a love letter to the past, it was a love letter to the fans, and a decade later, I wouldn't change a thing about it.